Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So today's episode comes to you courtesy of my incredible patrons. Once a month, patrons vote on what commander they'd like to see in an upcoming episode, and the commander that gets the most votes wins. And the commander that got the most votes this month is Bill the Pony. That's right, Bill time. Here we go. A 1/4 legendary creature horse that costs 3 and a white. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 food tokens, which of course you can pay 2 tap and sacrifice to gain 3 life, or sacrifice a food until end of turn. Target creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. So yeah, Bill the Pony, first up, can make us some food, can help us gain some life if we need to go that direction. If we need to actually save ourselves in a dire situation, great. But more importantly, yeah, we can hit with the toughness side of our creatures. And of course, you can get a giant discount on certain creatures out there that might have, well, not much power, but a lot of toughness. It's much easier to assign a lot of toughness to a creature than a lot of power at a lower mana value. And of course, there's ways to increase the toughness of one or even all of our creatures by a ton. So if we can build up a good amount of food, and of course there's a lot of ways to do that, then we can just have our food storage ready, swing out our opponents, and hit them for a ton of damage. And of course, yeah, there's plenty of other ways to take advantage of our commanders and our other creatures' low power as well, where our opponents might not be so lucky. So yeah, toughness, tribal, here we come with Bill the Pony. Now on this episode, this is going to be a special episode where every single card in this deck, including the commander, except for one card, and we'll talk about that one really quickly here in a second, is going to be less than a quarter. 1/4 or less. So yeah, a very budget-friendly deck with an estimated cost of just $9.50. Now keep in mind that doesn't include the cost of basic lands, but you might already have those, or you might be able to get them from your LGS or friends. And also that does include the cost of shipping, which might vary depending upon where you live, but still an incredibly budget-friendly deck that can pack a punch. And if you are interested in this deck, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. Now with all that said, let's jump into the tactics. So first up, there's of course Wayfarer's Bauble. Now I did say there is one card in this deck that does have a price tag slightly over a quarter, but of course I had to include Wayfarer's Bauble. It's nearly a quarter. I mean, this was at one point a $4 card, now down to 27 cents. Just, yeah, hopefully get some more reprints and we keep getting it down. Regardless, pay 2 tap, sacrifice, get a basic and a play tap. Fantastic land ramp for any color. Next up, Fractured Power Stone, a great mana rock. 2 cost, taps for 1, very efficient, very effective. Ignore that second part, who cares about that? Next up, Guardian Idol. Basically the exact same thing, but it does enter the battlefield tapped. And on top of that, we can actually pay 2 to make into a 2/2 until end of turn. Now that might seem like a lot, but again, like I mentioned, we've got a lot of ways to pump either one or a lot of creatures with their toughness, so even this can be a game-ending creature for us. Then we've got Marble Diamond, enters the battlefield, taps for a white, Mind Stone, taps for a colorless, pay 1 tap, sacrifice, draw a card so we can replace it quite easily. And we've also got some other land ramp as well in different ways. Boreas Charger, a 2/1 Flying Pegasus for 3. When it leaves the battlefield, you choose an opponent who controls more lands than you. Search your library for a number of planes equal to the difference, reveal those cards, put one of them on the battlefield, tapped in the rest your hand, then shuffle. So this can actually get us a lot of lands. And then Burnished Heart, hey, a 2/2. Pay 3, sacrifice to go get 2 basics into play, tap, then shuffle. And yeah, at 3 mana also we've got Commander Sphere, another solid mana rock, one that isn't all that efficient. Again, cost 3, taps for just 1, but we can sacrifice it for free to draw a card. Hedron Archive, a slightly larger mana rock, costing 4, tapping for half that, pay 2 tap, sacrifice, draw 2 cards, so in a pinch, this can help us as well. And then finally, Stone Speaker Crystal, taps for the exact same amount as well, cost 4, pay 2 tap, sacrifice, exile any number of target players' graveyards, and draw a card. So this can be some great graveyard hate for us as well. Yeah, ramping quickly, ramping early, ramping often can be great so we can get some exciting things out. But now let's move on to tactic number 2. Let's eat well, because yeah, our commander isn't the only thing that can actually get us food, though it is our most common way to get it. We'll talk about some other ways to utilize that. That being said, Fortifying Provisions is a great card in this deck, and achievement for 3 mana. First up, creatures you control get +0/+1. Basically, again, for this deck, this is just a straight-up Anthem. +1/+1, essentially, because, again, we are going to be pumping our creatures with this by essentially having them assign their combat damage with Toughness. On top of that, when it enters the battlefield, we get a food token. And yeah, just one food token, sure, but still, that can definitely make a difference. Speaking of food, next up there's Rosie Cotton of South Lane, a 1/1 halfling peasant for 3 mana. ETBs get that food token as well, and we'll talk about why ETBs can be, well, very, very crucial for a deck like this. On top of that, whenever you create a token, you get a counter target creature you control other than Rosie. We're going to be making a lot of tokens, including food tokens, of course. When we do, we can pump other creatures with that trigger. So yeah, this can help us out a lot throughout the game. But now let's move on to tactic number 3. Let's keep eating because, yeah, the food is not stopping there. Flicker of Fate is a great one. Exile target creature or enchantment and return to the battlefield under its own control. A great blink effect that can be a great way to save something from target removal. Or, yes, just use and abuse an ETB like Bills. This is basically, again, pay 2 mana, make 2 food. And that can be a great trigger for us to, again, use and abuse. So, of course, well, we've got some other effects, like, Slip on the Ring. Basically, blink a creature, and the ring tempts you, which, of course, can work great for our toughness creatures. Toughness-based creatures, I should say, with low power. Then we've got Far Traveler, a great enchantment to keep in play. Commander creatures you own have, at the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target tap creature you control, turn to the battlefield under its owner's control. So, we're swinging with some creatures, we can bring 1 back, essentially, and blink it, and yeah, if that's our commander, great, we get the food tokens as well. Then we also got some other creatures with some other ETBs too. Flicker Wisp, 3/1 flyer, enters the battlefield, exile a target permanent, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So this can be defensive, but yes, offensive as well with our commander. And on top of that, keep on with these flyers, these can actually be incredibly impactful. That evasion can really come in handy, although this one only has 1 toughness. Again, we've got plenty of ways to pump that toughness a ton and have this hit for a lot if it's getting through. So we also have another flyer with Guardian of Gearport. A 3/3 angel of flying, enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 other target creature artifact you control, return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So a great blink effect on top of a very solid flyer too. Then there's Gale Powder Mage, a 3/3 flyer that is a great attack trigger for us. Because when we do that, we get to blink another creature, comes back the next end step. That can be absolutely huge. And again, it can be another target creature. This can be a great way to get our creatures through. If an opponent just has 1 blocker or 1 eligible blocker, goodbye, you'll come back, but we're going to be coming through on you and hitting you for a ton. So we also have Glimmerpoint Stag. Yeah, there's a lot of creatures that can really help us out throughout the game. A 3/3 Vigilant Elk, enters the battlefield, blink a creature, bring it back to the end step. Again, plenty of ways to use and abuse our commander's ETB. Then there's Golden Argosy, a great repeatable way to do so. 3/6 vehicle, crew 1, whenever it attacks, exile each creature that crewed this turn, return to the battlefield, tapped under their own control to be the next end step. We can really use and abuse a lot of ETBs with this, of course, including our commanders repeatedly. Then, of course, there's Restoration Angel. 3/4 angel, flash flying, ETBs, blink a non-angel. Bill is a pony, I mean, basically a horse, right? But it is not an angel, so yes, we can blink it. Then, of course, there's Pegasus Guardian. Pay 1 and a white for that instant adventure, rescue the fowl, blink a creature, or it's a 3/3 flyer once we get into play. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, you get a 1/1 Pegasus creature token with flying. Again, going wide with this deck can be a very good thing when we get some pump effects going. So being able to create more and more creature tokens with all those blink effects can be huge. But now let's move on to tactic number 4. Let's act tough. And we've got some really tough creatures in this deck that, again, might not have a lot of power, but that toughness is what matters. Daxos Blessed by the Sun is a great one. Toughness equal to our devotion to white, which, again, in a mono white deck can be massive. So this can hit for a ton. On top of that, whenever another creature we control enters the battlefield or dies, we gain 1 life. This can get us a lot of life throughout the game, on top of being a really heavy hitter for just 2 mana. Speaking of which, Giant Ox. Yeah, a 0/6 for 2 mana. Also, it can crew vehicles. Cool. That doesn't really matter all that much. It's kind of also strange that the Ox can crew vehicles. But still, it is going to be hitting basically as a 6/6 for just 2 mana. Again, which is massive. At 4 mana, though, we've got 7 power, essentially. Well, it's toughness, but again, toughness basically equals power for this deck. A 1/7 with Kami of the Old Stone. And then we've got Looming Altosaur, basically the exact same thing. 1/7 vanilla creature for 4 mana. Who knew vanilla could taste so good? Then there's the Tulpa Primal Dawn, a 4/8 Elder Dinosaur for 8 mana in total. Flying, Double Strike, Vigilance, Trample, Indestructible. So many keywords. And we basically, again, are doubling up the power of this creature again by having it assigned by its toughness. That is 8. So that's double strike damage, basically 16 Flying Vigilant Trample coming through, hard to deal with Indestructible. Yeah, this is an incredible card in this deck. But now let's move on to some ways to toughen up any of our creatures. And yeah, there's a lot of great ones. Quarter Shield, a 0 mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +0, +3, and has Vigilance. So yeah, a great way to pump a creature. Essentially, again, 3 extra damage when it's hitting, and also Vigilant, yeah, swing away with it, and just keep it back for defense too. Cathara Shield, exact same thing. Literally the exact same card. Have fun with that. Then there's Lumen Thread Field, a great enchantment. Again, basically a low to ground anthem for us. Creature control get +0/+1. Again, basically +1/+1 essentially. And it's got a morph cost, so yeah, if we want to cast a creature, we can. It can also be a great surprising flip for us by flipping this over and be like, oh yeah, you did your combat damage math wrong. Sorry about that. Then there's Parapet. This one we can flash in, but if we do, we sacrifice at the end step. That being said, all creatures we control get +0/+1, so again, another great low to the ground anthem for us. And yeah, one that we can utilize as a combat trick. Speaking of combat tricks, my goodness, Bar the Door. Instant for 3 mana, creature control +0/+4 until end of turn. If this was, again, just, basically what it is for us, like +4/+4 until end of turn, this would cost a lot more than 3 mana at instant speed. So, yeah, this can just be a game ender for us. Again, if we can go wide with certain, ways to make tokens, we can get a lot of creatures into play. We got a lot of food into play. Swing out. Hit with a lot of toughness, take your opponents out. Next up, Ensouled Scimitar. This is a great flexible card for us. Equipment for 3. It only costs 2 to equip. Equip creature gets +1/+5, so it's a ton, a giant power boost. Well, toughness power boost, you know what I mean. Also, by paying 3, it becomes a 1/5 artifact creature with flying until end of turn. So again, this can just be a artifact that can just stay into play, an equipment that can stay into play that's not a creature, can avoid board wipes, and we can now turn it into basically a 5 power creature, or 5 toughness power. You know what I mean. Moving on, Stone Skin. This is crazy for this deck. In Aura, so it's going to stick on a creature. 3 mana, flash, so flash it in whenever you need to. Enchant creature gets +0/+10. My goodness. Again, this on any creature is just going to make them the most massive creature on the board, hitting for a ton. It can be a great combat trick for us. It can turn our commander, of course, into a 2-shot KO quite easily. And yeah, a couple of combination of cards could just turn our commander into a 1-shot KO. Like with Conclave's Blessing. Again, if we go wide, this can be really good. Convoke, so we can cheat it out pretty easily into play for basically nothing. Enchant creature gets +0/+2 for each other creature you control. So again, that could come quite massive. Then we've got Defender of the Order, another morph creature that can really help us out. And when it's turn face up, creatures we control get +0/+2 until end of turn. Again, this usually would just be a defensive thing, but with this deck, this is very much an offensive thing. A giant pump effect that can come out of absolutely nowhere by flipping this over. And when it comes to a pump effect, even bigger. There you go, Solidarity. 4 mana, in speed, creature control +0/+5. Again, basically +5/+5. Instant speed, absurd. Can help our creatures hit for a ton. Also, a great way to keep them back on defense as well. Thraben Watcher. 2/2, Flying Vigilant. Again, I talked about already why flyers can just be so crucial for this kind of a deck. On top of that, other non-token creatures you control get ++1 have Vigilance. A great anthem effect for our team. And again, Vigilance makes it so that we can just swing and be, back for defense as well. And then finally, Nykthos Paragon. This is a huge card for this deck. 4/6, Human Soldier for 6 mana. Whenever you gain life and you put that many counters in each creature, this only once each turn. Again, our commander makes food. We've got other things that make food too, but regardless, hey, every single turn, including our opponent's turns, if we've got enough mana, we've got enough food, we're going to sacrifice a food. We do so, we gain 3 life. We'd say, you know what, let's get some counters on our creatures. With 1 turn on the table, that can be 12 additional power and toughness for every single one of our creatures in play. And even just once is permanent 3 extra power and toughness to all our creatures. With that food, yeah, this can really help us out a lot. But now it's time to move on to the golden pig of this deck, which of course the number 1 card out of our 99. And the golden pig for this deck is Rasaad, a 0/3 human monk that costs 3 mana in total. Each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Okay. On top of that, whenever it attacks, if you have the initiative, double the toughness of each creature you control until end of turn. That doesn't really matter all that much. What matters, again, is that this is essentially, hey, save up your food, Bill. Bill, I got this. Don't worry about it. I got this, all right? All the creatures are going to have, essentially, the ability to just say, you know what? My toughness is what matters. And yeah, that's pretty huge. Save up on that food for if this gets ever dealt with, but also you can utilize that food to gain life. This is just a great way to say, you know what? All of our creatures are going to be hitting incredibly hard throughout the game. Definitely a great pick for the golden pig of this deck. But now let's move on to tactic number 7. Let's break stuff. And yeah, we've got plenty of ways to break a lot of things. Dawnbreaker Cleric is a great one. 1/3 for just 2 mana, so again, can hit harder than what you're going to be paying for it, essentially. Enters the battlefield, choose 1. You gain 2 life, destroy target enchantment, or exile target card from a graveyard. This can be a very flexible card that can help us out in a lot of situations. Again, there are going to be times where getting that life is nice. Nyktos Paragon says, yeah, thank you. Here's some counters. Destroying that enchantment can be great. Exiling a card from graveyard can be great against certain strategies. Next up, Slaughter the Strong. This is one way to really take advantage of our strategy. 3 mana, board wipe that can be very much one-sided. Each player chooses any number of creatures they control total power 4 or less, then sacrifices all the creatures they control. Some players might not even meet that requirement for any creature. They might be like, yeah, all my creatures are gone. You paid 3 mana to do that. And essentially, we, can probably keep a couple creatures in play because we've got a lot of creatures that have either 0 or like 1 power, so we can keep plenty of creatures in play and we're going to be fine. Next up, we have a panic button as well, though, in case things don't go our way with Nevinyrral's Disc. Enters the battlefield, tap, pay 1, tap, destroy all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. So yeah, a great panic button to have. Then there's Fell the Mighty. Destroy all creatures with power greater than target creature's power. Again, we're counting on toughness. We don't care about power. So, hey, everyone who's got power greater than Bill's, which is 2 power, is gone. That's basically all your opponent's creatures. Goodbye. Then there's Sail Beyond Reality. This one can take advantage of our commander's trigger, as well as just taking something out. Basically, exile creature you don't control. Goodbye permanently. And also, blink one of your own creatures. Then there's Duplicant. Speaking of exiling, ETBs exile a non-token creature. And then as long as that card is exiled with Duplicant, it's a creature card, it's going to have its power and toughness. So again, if an opponent has a lot of toughness on a creature, let's take advantage of that. Then there's Sunblast Angel, a great ETB we can really take advantage of as well. 4/5 flyer, ETBs for all tapped creatures. We can take advantage of this when we need to. Again, if we've got Vigilance for our creatures, great. Swing out and keep them back. Also, again, with all those blink effects that we have, if someone's swinging out at us, we're like, no. So they swing out at us, they attack us, and we're like, blink this. Destroy all those creatures. Thank you. Goodbye. Speaking of goodbye, Angel of the Ruins, 5/7, Flying Angel, ETBs, exile up to 2 target artifacts and or enchantments. This can take out a lot of things for us, and again, because it is an ETB, it is so easy for us to use and abuse with a deck like this. And then we've, of course, got Meteor Golem, very, very good at taking things out. ETBs destroy target anomaly and permanent opponent controls, so take out basically anything except for like a Gaia's Cradle. Best things that are not lands that are going to be problematic, though, anyways. And then we've got, of course, Dusk and Dawn, a great split card, a great Aftermath card. Dusk says draw creatures with power 3 or greater, so again, most of our creatures are going to be fine. Dawn says return all creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand, so we get a lot of our creatures back from our graveyard, so a great board wipe and recursion spell for us. Now, though, let's move on to tactic number 8. Let's stick around. And again, I've already mentioned plenty of ways to protect our team and other creatures, like, hey, blink effects. I've mentioned plenty of them. Regardless, your Temple's Under Attack is a great one as well. Instant for 3 mana. Creatures you control gain indestructible on turn, or you and target opponent each draw 2 cards. So if we desperately need card advantage, we can make a deal with opponent. If not, protect your team with this great spell. Speed to protect your team. Lena, Selfless, Champion can help us out as well. 3/3 Human Knight, ETBs. You make a 1/1 white human soldier creature token for each non-token creature you control. Again, a great ETB for us to use and abuse, helping us go wide. On top of that, sacrifice this. Creatures you control power less than latest power, gain indestructible upturn. Most of our creatures, again, have less power than this, so most are going to be saved by this board wipe saving effect. But now let's move on to our final tactic with tactic number 9. Let's dig deep. First up, Zephyr Boots, a great equipment for this deck. Equip creature has flying for just 1 mana, equipped 2. Whenever it deals combat to a player, you are going to loot. So draw, then discard. This can be a great way to get creatures through and also get us some card selection. Speaking of an artifact and equipment that gives us card, well, this time advantage, Glimmerlens is a great one for Mirrodin. So when it enters the battlefield, we get a 2/2 and this attaches to it. Whenever the equipped creature and at least one other creature attack, we draw a card. That is a very low requirement to meet for a deck that wants to be pretty aggressive like this one. Then there's Mazemind Tome. We can tap to scry. We can tap to draw a card. Once it gets 4 counters on it, we gain 4 life and exile it. So yeah, again, this can really work with like a Nykthos Paragon or just a nice little life-gaining effect to actually pad our life total. Then we've got Wall of Omens, another ETB that we can use and abuse, 0-4 with Defender. So again, this just 2 mana, it's going to basically act as a 4-4 for a blocker, and then it says when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Cut a deal. A great way to gain some card advantage. And yeah, sure, our opponents are going to draw some cards as well, each drawing 1, but we're going to be drawing 3. Again, assuming we got 3 opponents. Next up, Mentor the Meek. We've got a lot of, again, low power creatures. This can really take advantage of them. Whenever the creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under control, you can pay 1. If you do, draw a card. That is huge. That is massive. Again, we've got tons of ways to get creatures into play, tons of ways to blink creatures. Have fun with this. Speaking of fun, the Rumor Gatherer. In a somewhat similar way, without having to pay anything though, this can generate a lot of card selection and card advantage. Whenever the creature enters the battlefield under control, scry 1, but if the second time this ability is draw this turn, draw a card instead. That can be huge. And then there's Secret Rendezvous. Make a deal with an opponent. You and target opponent each draw 3 cards. Again, hey, we're buddies, right? All right, I want to attack you. You want to attack me for a little bit. Let's draw some cards. Let's take out those other 2 players. Yeah, they're the problem, right? Let's take them out. Then we've got Lore Seeker's Stone, a great repeatable draw effect for us. The lower we are when it comes to the cards in our hand, the better this becomes. Pay 3, tap, draw 3. That's huge. It's going to cost 1 more to activate for each card in our hand, but still, if you've got no cards in your hand, it only costs 3. And even if it costs 4 or 5, still, that's a good value for, drawing a lot of cards. And you can also draw a lot of cards with a fantastic ETB of Sandstone Oracle. 4-4 Flyer. Again, I already talked about why Flyers can be great for this kind of a deck. ETBs choose an opponent. If that player has more cards in hand than you, draw cards equal to the difference. That can be huge. That can be massive. Again, if we say have even just 2 cards in our hand and we're playing against an opponent that has 7, and plenty of players love drawing cards, in Commander, hey, we're going to be drawing 5 on ETB. We use those up. We blink it again at some point. We replace our hand. This is massive for this kind of a deck. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this deck tech on Build the Pony, and I hope that you enjoyed this different kind of take on going about it, again, with cards that are 25 cents or less, just a quarter or less, except, of course, Wayfarer's Bauble, which I did make the exception for, though it is really close to that as well. I just wanted to show off that, you know what? Hey, even at a lower budget, you can still make a very good, very functional deck that can be a lot of fun to play and that can really surprise your friends. So I hope that you enjoyed it. Again, if you are interested in this deck, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. And again, a massive thank you to my patrons. I could not do this without you, and I love the selection of Build the Pony. Thank you for picking that one. And with that, this episode is coming to a close, so let me know your thoughts are on it in the comments below. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.